Welcome to the Millennial Sandwich, a space for real conversations about millennials in the middle, not just of our own lives, but also of a caregiving sandwich. I'm Dr. Anita Chandra, a geriatrician and expert in elder care.
And I'm Zara Hannawalt, a parenting journalist and expert in American motherhood. And even we don't have all the answers. Join us as we figure out life in the middle. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. It is just Anita and Zara today. This is actually our season finale of our first season of the Millennial Sandwich. If you guys have been listening, thank you so much. And if you're new here, we're going to recap our first season a little bit, tell you what's coming on our next season, and just talk about what we've learned this season in doing this podcast. Anita, what would you say has been your biggest takeaway?
For me, I think, well, first of all, I can't believe we're already at the finale. When we first started talking about this, we thought it would just be like maybe 7 or 8 episodes, but it turns out we had a lot of thoughts and a lot of amazing guests who were willing to come on and talk to us. For me, the biggest takeaway this season was how different the sandwich looks for everybody and how invisible work is in all directions. And I think that was really like a theme with every one of our guests who has come on to talk to us. How about you?
I'm actually going to say kind of the opposite. I think I was surprised by how much we all have in common and how many people are actually going through sandwich stuff. It's one of those things where, of course, like if your friend has a baby, it's very obvious, but you don't necessarily know what someone is dealing with their parents or with their siblings until you really start to get into it. And I feel like so many of the conversations that we had on this podcast, it was, people that we follow and people that we feel like we know. And then they would start telling us things about their situation. And we were surprised by how relatable it was and by how much so many of us are dealing with and how similar so many of the situations are, even if we're dealing with a very different issue.
Right.
Our feelings about being in the middle are so similar.
Yeah, I think that's like you said, the situations can be so different, but the experience is so unifying. Even if you go back and listen to the sandwich survival tips from all of our guests, they all go back to kind of the same thing because we're all feeling the same no matter what the particular situation is. And another thing that I noticed is that even with hanging out with my friends or just chatting with people, so many times I've found myself saying, oh, we talk about this on our podcast. Oh, we talk about this. You should listen to this person. And it wasn't even like trying to get them to listen to the podcast. It was just that we really did talk about so much of the stuff that we're all talking about with our friends.
Yeah, totally. I've been noticing that too. I've talked to so many people who are leaving the workforce right now because of the sandwich generation pressures. I've talked to so many people who are feeling so many of the exact same things that we are feeling about how they are last on their priority list, about how they are constantly being told that they need more self-care, but they don't even know where to begin, or they try to do things for themselves and then something terrible happens and they feel like, oh, I can never do that again, right? Like I remember I posted something about how I have a lot of anxiety turning my phone off if I am getting a massage or something. I don't even think I turn my phone off. I think I just leave it in a locker. But somebody commented and was like, I have a child with medical needs and I tried to do this one time and it was like a horrible crisis.
Yeah.
So I think that just underscores how important it is to not just sell people the idea that self-care will solve all their problems, because it actually won't. I know that's an episode we want to get into.
Yeah. I think in season 2, we really want to dig into what practical steps we can actually take to deal with some of these feelings. This season has been so validating in a lot of ways. Like I said, we're all feeling the same thing. And then we're going to be really digging into what do we do about it and how do we make it out alive in a way.
Yeah, and it's so hard because, you posted something today about things that you do to make your life easier as a person in the sandwich generation. And I love that you said things that I do, not things you should do, because it is so circumstantial. We're not all going to have the same resources. We're not all going to have the same support systems. We don't all have the same values. We don't all prioritize things the same way. And it's really hard. I feel like anytime I express that I'm overwhelmed, people will tell me, just get help, just get help. And often when they say just get help, they mean get childcare. And they're like, hire a nanny, hire babysitters. And
That's not actually helpful to you because of your
yeah,
priorities, right? Yeah.
that's not helpful to me because that's like the one thing that I don't want to give up is time with my kids. I
And
would
it's
much
like
rather.
cooking too. You really enjoy cooking and it is like
Yeah.
calming for you. And for me, total opposite. I don't enjoy it. I feel very stressed out by it. So
Yeah.
outsourcing that is helpful to me. So we're allowed to have different opinions on what is helpful.
Yes, and I feel like that gets so lost on social media too. It's like if we could all just remember that we don't all want the same life, we don't all have the same goals, we would all be so much better, especially around motherhood and caregiving and domesticity. Like this whole tradwife girl boss thing. Does anybody actually feel accurately represented by this? Because nobody I've talked to does.
No one really is, which is why it brings out that's why it's rage bait
Yeah,
because it brings out emotions in everybody, no matter which way you lean, nobody is going to fit in exactly into that box. Same with daughterhood. Like we talk so much about the ways we want to show up as daughters, and it's not the same for a lot of people. We have said so many times that's totally fine. We get that. Not everybody wants to show up in the same way or be as involved in the same way. Even sometimes when I post about things people can look for in their aging parents to make their parents' lives easier and their lives easier, it's inevitable that I get like 10% of the comments are like, I don't want my kids to ever think of this is so insulting. I don't want my kids to ever think about me in this way. Or my parents didn't give me X, Y, or Z, so I'm not going to show up. That's fine. I think us sharing tips with each other, it's not going to be a blanket thing.
yeah,
Even our episodes this season, not every episode applies to every person, which is totally fine. We've noticed that too. We can see which episodes are more listened to versus not. And Dr. Mona's episode, it seems like really resonated with
yeah.
our listeners. Most of our listeners are parents, and there was a lot in there that I just loved how much she shared with us about her own, you know,
Too.
yeah, just herself. It wasn't just like generic advice. It was her
It was
own
vulnerable.
situation. Yeah.
Yeah, it was totally vulnerable. And yeah, I would say that one and the one we did about the millennial midlife crisis. That was, I think, our most listened to episode that
I
we did.
can't believe that
I
because
know. And it was just us.
it was just us chatting about things. Yeah. Are there things from this first season that you've taken away into your own life? What have you changed about how you navigate the sandwich?
I think the one episode that I feel like changed my perspective was Jessica Guthrie's because I think what struck me about her was that she just seems to have this acceptance.
Yeah.
And I think the reason what she said got through to me, and I imagine a lot of other people, is because it wasn't like toxic positivity, but it also wasn't negative. And it was just like, this is my situation. I accept it. I accept that this is where I am. I am someone who spends so much time wishing I could go back in time with
Yeah.
my kids, with my parents. Like, I obsess over it to the point that I lose time with the people in my life. And I think with her, she was like, yeah, it's a disruption. Caregiving is a disruption. And I'm lucky to do it.
Yeah.
And I love that she said that I care for my mom in this way because this is how she taught me to care.
Right. It
I
gives
don't
us
think
like
I
a sense of
quoted that exactly, but
purpose.
yeah.
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 And she did say that it took her, I mean, she's 12 years into this, so it didn't come right away. That acceptance didn't come right away. And hearing that too, I think is important. Like
Yeah.
it's okay if you don't feel fine about the situation. It might take longer for some
Yeah.
people to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're here now and that's all you can do is be here. You can't go back, you can't go forward. You just have to be here.
I think all millennials need to hear that. We can
Mhm.
be nostalgic and we can miss things. We can't go back. We're not going back. We're here. We're getting older. Our parents are getting older. Our kids are getting older. It's happening.
Yeah. What about you? Was there an episode that really changed your perspective?
I really loved the episode, that conversation that we had with Soumya. I
I did
I
too.
I loved it in a lot of ways. It brought out feelings of guilt that I didn't even I don't think I had put into words until we had that conversation. Yeah, I just loved, and I really loved her advice to leave your friends voice notes. I've adopted that. Even though we've talked about how,
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, I know that's a confession that I'm making to Zara right now, but still appropriately. I still don't want your rambly voice note. If you're my friend listening to this, if it could be a text, make it a text.
Mhm.
I don't,
I don't want a voice note that just says, okay, sounds good.
or that starts with, what was I going to say? If you don't know what you were going to say, don't send me the voice note. I don't want it. Okay. Like, just cut that out. Start over with what you're going to say. I'm probably just going to read the transcript anyway.
Yeah.
And that said, it is really nice to hear my friends' voices sometimes. And if I just, even if it's just like, hey, this funny thing happened and I'm going to tell it to you as if you're right next to me, that part I like. I've adopted that. It makes me feel closer to some people. But yeah, I still don't want the 3-minute rambly voice notes about what you were going to tell me. Just don't send it. I don't want it.
Yeah. And I know Bonnie Mangled, that was an episode that surprised both of us because some of her advice was not what we were expecting. I fully thought she was going to give us advice on how to set our kids up financially. And she was just like, no, actually, worry about yourself first, and the rest you can worry about later.
Yeah. I mean, that is also a theme throughout our conversations, that we're so uncomfortable putting ourselves first in every situation. And even saying that now to you, I'm going back to Sonia's episode because I'm like, oh, I feel guilty saying that because I do put myself first in a lot of situations, but still I'm thinking about everyone. I feel like maybe I shouldn't be thinking about myself. I don't know. There's a lot of that weird martyrdom that's happening.
And then do you ever feel bad for thinking about everybody else so much and feel like you're not doing it right? Yeah.
Yep.
My husband actually this weekend said to me, he was like, you think about everybody else to a fault. And I was like, you know what? That's kind of validating to hear because I have been wondering about that. I've been like, am I doing too much of this? And yeah.
It pisses me off when people are like, just don't think about it. Just don't worry about them. I'm like, but I can't.
No.
I'm a firstborn daughter. I'm very anxious. I'm a daughter of immigrants. Like, excuse me? Like, I can't just not think about it.
Yeah.
I do very much care about what people think. That's not going to go away. That's one thing I feel talking to all of our guests and talking to you is like, it's okay that I care what people think about me, because the perception, like when we talk to Leah, it's like, why do you think people are going to think this way about you? Because they do. The research shows that they do think this way.
Think that, we grew up with so much of that, like, don't worry about what people think. It's so cool to not worry. I think a reframe of maybe it's not about what people think about you. Maybe it's about how you make people feel.
Yeah.
I think that is kind of the reframe we need, because that's actually, it's a really good thing to care about how you make people feel and care about how people feel around you, and caring about how you make people feel about themselves. Really good quality. And we've been taught that it's not, but no, actually it is.
And we are just feelers, right? We can tell right away when someone's upset or angry or anything is off.
I think it's important to note too that we are both water signs.
Yeah. Some of this is just that.
Yeah. I mean, I never really know how much to believe in the astrology
Should we
stuff.
have an astrologer come on?
Yes, we should. We should.
Oh my gosh, that would be so fun.
Yeah. Because when I read a description of the Pisces, I'm like, yeah, unfortunately, I think I do believe this.
People still do. I remember being in like middle school and looking up my horoscope every day because it was on my AOL homepage. And I would like fully believe everything I read. Do kids still do that?
I don't think so.
Is that still a thing? Like, are they? The Enneagram is much more.
Yeah.
Of a thing
Enneagram,
now.
love language.
Yeah.
That stuff I think is more of a thing for them. But also I think, as we talked about in that episode we did about the contentification of caregiving, I think there's so much overt niching down right now that I do think people are thinking of themselves more in terms of their niche or their descriptor or their kind of like labels around who they are. I think that is more of a thing. I think our generation, it was a little bit more like, I'm a Pisces.
Yeah. And not like, as a very specific niche that I have created that there's a market for, let me tell you my mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a clean girl, as a, whatever, sort of Pilates girl. Yeah. It's interesting because obviously content creation is so female dominated. And that's the thing that women have always dealt with. We've always been put into boxes and put into categories and assigned a lane essentially. And we've always had the world demand that we stay in that lane. I mean, I think that's at the root of a lot of the Taylor Swift hate, honestly, not to be such a millennial
Yeah.
and make everything about Taylor Swift. But I
But
do think
everything is about Taylor.
Taylor's world. We're just living in it. But I
That
think
was
that's why people are like, we don't know what to make of her because she is it's a full reinvention with every era.
yeah.
And
What are we
she's
supposed to do with
also,
that? Yeah.
yeah, she's also like, you know what? I actually deeply care about my career and I deeply care about my love life. And you can be a woman who cares about both of those
Okay,
things.
but people who are trying to like pin her as this like secret MAGA, like, but just no, we will not
I
have that. That's
Go
not.
and watch the Miss Americana.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It drives me insane. My close personal friend Taylor would never.
Would never.
So, and I loved talking to Libby about that was an episode that really surprised, I think, both of us,
Yeah.
how not only self aware of the machine of content she was, but just sharing how, yeah, the niche stuff, which she, I think, finds herself also in this. It's hard to break out of a niche once you're in it. And I know we're hoping to hopefully bring this to Mom 2.0 next year, but all of the people who, made mom content that we all love to consume and share and repost are also in the sandwich with us now. And that is going to be the next era of content.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I've worked in the parenting space for a while, and the parenting space has been very, very focused on people who are raising toddlers and babies.
Yeah.
And I think as millennials age into this era where we are raising, like, we're in the
Middle,
middle part of parenthood,
yeah.
which, like, we're, we're still
Yeah.
pretty early, I think, but everything needs a brand and a niche,
Yes.
so we're going to call it that. I think we're going to start talking more about that. But I think, like the sandwich generation, it is so much harder to talk about the experience of raising 8-year-olds than it is to talk about raising babies because everything is just so much more complicated.
And you
Whereas
don't
when
have
you,
as much say in what they do. It's not just like feed them at this time and then put them down like this. You don't, they're
yeah,
people. They're like whole people.
they're whole people. They have so many more outside influences. Your decisions around parenting are not going to be as concrete as do I breastfeed or formula feed. It's
Right.
going to be my kid gets in the car and tells me about this traumatic thing that happened, and I have to figure out how to respond in the moment.
Right.
Right. And there's not as much content to be mined off of that experience. But I do think that if we can get into this conversation about what it's truly like to raise kids, not just in this particular period in time, which is an incredibly complicated time to parent, but also an incredibly complicated age to parent.
Hmm.
I think we need more conversations like that. I think there's a real gap in the content space around parenthood, around that experience. And I
Yeah.
feel like as millennials age into that, we're going to create more of it.
People kind of assume that we know what we're doing. And I feel the opposite because I felt so prepared. There's like,
Yeah.
there are books on what to do for the first year and then what you're supposed to do until they're 2 and then what's okay and then what individual foods they can eat. But like my kids today, I was just telling you before we started this, like, they went to go play at the neighbor's house together without me for the first time. And I was like, one, this is amazing. I'm really proud of them and giving them their independence. And also, I sat on the porch the entire time waiting for them to come back because I kept thinking like, will they feel okay saying that they want to come home? Or are they going to look at driveways when they cross this? There's just things that I didn't think about until it was actively happening. And then I found myself sitting there alone without my kids right there. And it's scary. It was scary.
Yeah. Yeah. And that there's no guide on how to let go. There is just no, we're completely winging it in that respect. I am admittedly a total helicopter mom. And I'm realizing as I, have kids in elementary school who are around other kids who have very different sets of rules and guidelines and stuff. I'm realizing that. And what's interesting is like my sandwich experience is I was raised by helicopter
Yeah.
parents. I did not have the typical millennial childhood of like run
roaming the streets
outside and then
and
come
yeah.
back dark. I had a very different childhood, and I do feel like that held me back in some ways, that I didn't become as independent as I could have. So now I am constantly wrestling with that. Do I listen to my instincts of how to parent? How much of my instincts are actually just passed down from how I was parented? How much of it do I want to hold on to? How much of it do I want to challenge and change? How much of it is going to be led by what other people are doing? Because I can remember being a kid and all I wanted to feel was normal,
Right.
especially as the kid of immigrants, right? You
Yeah.
just want to fit in. And as a kid, you don't fit in when you have a completely different set of rules.
You don't even know what other people's rules are. I wonder if we maybe that's something we can get into in season 2.
Yeah, I think it is because I'm sure a lot of people are dealing with that. I'm sure a lot of people are just as confused about this as we are and, you know, don't feel like they know exactly how to approach everything.
People check in on you when you have a newborn or what and you feel okay asking questions. But I don't think I would feel as comfortable being like, "Hey, when your kid was in 2nd grade, what did you do for this?" And like, "Is this not," because nobody does it.
Nobody does it. You're just kind of expected to have it figured out at this point.
Yeah.
It's like, and I think a lot of people, they really think that parenting slows down once your kid starts kindergarten. It doesn't. It just changes. It's just a different set of concerns, responsibilities, things
Mental
you're
load. There's so
yeah.
many forms. And so, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, homework. I don't think I feel like no one warned me for how annoying it is to do homework all the time. I mean, I feel like I am in elementary school again trying to get my kid to sit and do homework and he likes it. And it's like more me being like, I don't this like we really have to do this. I have to make sure that the folder is and I want to give him ownership of that too. But I still feel like it's my responsibility to make sure he's doing what he's supposed to because he's 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's that constant balance of how much do we let them do on their own versus how much do we do for them. There's so much of that narrative online too. I don't do anything for my kids that they can do for themselves. Okay, but one, sometimes letting them do it themselves is more work and just too much work for,
Yeah.
for people who are living in this modern world where everything is already incredibly rushed and busy and hectic.
And I just want
Sometimes
them to
we
go to
truly can't.
bed. I want them to
Yeah.
go to bed. It's like selfish, but it's true. Like I want them to finish what they have to do so they can go to bed so I can be a person for 30 minutes.
Yeah, or like I have to rush you out the door for an activity
Right.
because
Things are
because
happening.
in one corner of the internet you'll be told that you're overscheduling your children, but then in another one it'll be like if your kids are not in sports, you don't love them.
Yeah. How do you feel
Yeah.
about that? What do you think about overscheduling? I know you have said that you have personally felt like you were overscheduled as a kid and
Yeah.
I was not.
Yeah. Yeah, I was totally an overscheduled kid. I think it's such a fine line because even me, I have one kid who has like totally found their thing
Mhm.
and another kid who hasn't really and
Yeah.
who's I think would find their thing if it was the thing that their friends were interested
Right.
in, but it's
Yeah.
not. And yeah, that's another part of it is like you really want to be fair and you really want to feel like if one kid is doing this many things, the other kid has to be doing that many things too.
Yeah.
But then sometimes that leads to overscheduling. So yeah, it's like it's a puzzle that you are trying to piece together every single day. It's a scale you're trying to balance. You're trying to make sure that they have enough going on that they are not completely behind all their peers, but not so much going on that they are completely burnt out and exhausted. And again, there's no single guideline. There are different opinions in every place you look. And I also feel like the activities go from being not at all intense enough to the
To
point where
being
you're like,
insane
I
when
drove
you're
20 minutes just for you to run around in a circle
for
to
yeah, for
then
less
over
time
your
than
kids
we were in the
doing that.
car.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Like my kids were overscheduled. And then when my dad died, we just stopped everything. And I realized how nice it was to not do anything. And I'm just so tired. I figure once they're in middle school or whatever, they're going to have their own interests and have to do a lot of this stuff. That why not spend time as a family in the evenings while we can? And maybe some of that is just me justifying why I don't want to drive to all these places and take them to all these things, but sometimes it's just nice to just be home when we're home and
Yeah.
eat dinner together and like hang out until they go to bed. And maybe they'll hate me for that one day. I don't know. And I do outsource. I mean, like our nanny takes them to piano and whatever. That's just how it goes.
That's how it has to be
Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah. It's impossible to figure it out. And then you feel like you are behind if you don't figure it out.
Yeah, and then I feel bad just saying that too because I'm like, "Oh my god, we have a nanny." And that's so embarrassing that I have the resources to have a nanny. I really have to, I don't know, unlearn a lot of this.
But but don't you think that someone listening to this will hear you say that and hear like, okay, she's a doctor, she is an event planner, she has a podcast. That makes me feel less inadequate because
I'm not
I
doing it
realize
all. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I there's so much dishonesty about outsourcing and people are hiding so much of their support systems. And, I was just having this conversation with another friend, but just like we criticize Nara Smith for perpetuating these unrealistic standards with how she cooks without giving the proper context of what is
Mhm.
happening behind the scenes to give her the space and the time and the bandwidth and the ability to look beautiful when she does it. We're also missing a lot of context from a lot of these working mom influencers who,
Yeah.
even if they're talking about their childcare and stuff, a lot of them are not alluding to the fact that they have the flexibility of
Yes.
working from home. Like,
Working moms are not equal.
we
Like,
are not. We're
no.
not. And I'm very conscious of when people refer to me as a working mom, I am very much like, I am a self-employed working
Yeah.
mom. It's a different ballgame. It is
Even
a
well, people
completely
will be
different
like, "Oh, you're a doctor, you must not have any time." I have so many resources, and also my particular job is quite flexible. I'm lucky. I'm not like on my feet for 16-hour days, not able to go to the bathroom or check my phone. I mean, there's so many jobs like that where women don't have that flexibility. It's so different. That's why we should stop labeling everybody with these two stupid labels.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why we just need to stop with the binary
Yeah.
because it's everything is so different. Everyone's situation is so different and comparing and like I need to hear this, by
Yeah.
the way. Like I need to hear this myself. Comparing is so pointless, especially in the sandwich generation because I think it's pretty easy to understand that like okay, if I'm a mom, I can't compare myself to someone who doesn't have kids. I can't compare what they're doing or their bandwidth or even things like their, how much they work out.
Right.
You know that you can't compare that. But when you're in the sandwich generation, it gets really fuzzy because yeah, we're all daughters, right? But the daughtering looks so different from
So
one person
different.
to
The
another. And
circumstances are different. That's why
yeah,
I really hate when people ask how do you have time to do all of that? I mean, I've said this before and nobody means it in like I think they're being positive and trying to say something nice, but I really hate being asked, how do you do it all? Like, how do you have time to do all of this stuff? It makes me feel really guilty because I am not doing it all. I'm not doing it all. There's always a time where something is not getting my 100%. I'm just doing things. I'm just doing things because I feel like it and because I can. I'm not doing it all.
yeah, it's as a journalist, like there was all this debate around 2016 because a lot of people were asking celebrity moms that question, how do you do it all? And the answers were never really substantial. It was always really vague. It was always just like, oh, I just love my career and I love my kids and, like I do the best I can. I actually feel like we should be asking people that question, but I think more than asking, it's about how you answer. I think a lot of people think it's enough to just say you can't have it all or you can't do it all, but like actually, what does that look like?
Yeah.
What does not being able to do it all actually look like? And what does it look like for each individual? Recently, there's been Mel Robbins and Emma Grede have talked about how they've missed out on things in their kids' lives. And I love that they're being honest about it, but it's this very unapologetic, like, yeah, I missed it. And,
Mhm.
is- and I have this really successful career. I wish we would talk about the full range though, because some people feel like that. Some people are like, I miss out on moments and I'm heartbroken about that and I don't
Yeah.
have their option. Some people are like, I miss out on moments and it's really hard and it breaks my heart, but the pros of my job outweigh the cons of that, right?
Yeah.
It's this whole range of experiences, and we don't talk enough about that because everything has become so extreme. It's
And
either,
multiple things can be true at the same time.
yeah, it's either like, imagine thinking this is worth $20 an hour. Imagine missing, like, whatever they say,
Yeah.
missing this is worth $20 an hour or whatever they're saying. It's either that or it's like, yeah, I spend 3 hours with my kids a weekend and what,
Yeah.
and there's so much nuance in between that. And those two experiences are also valid.
Yeah. It all is. Like, why are we even saying any of this stuff to each other? Like,
Yeah.
why does anybody feel the need to say any of this stuff to each other? Some of it, yes, it's validating. People need to hear it, but is it for yourself? Like, are you saying it so that other people will tell you that it's okay?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it depends. I do think when we hear someone like Emma Grede say that, I think that's really important,
Mm-hmm.
actually. I know that there was a lot of backlash, and I didn't love everything about what she said, just because I think I have concerns for what it does to the trickle down culture because,
Yeah.
again, we hold on to narratives so much. But I also think that's really honest. And it's important to be honest in that way because, yeah, you can tell people that they can't have it all. But what does that actually mean? What does that actually look like? What should you actually be prepared for? I think that part of it is so important.
Yeah. That's so true. And that kind of brings me to I wanted to ask, what are the things that we keep telling our audience and each other and the conversations that we're having with our guests? What are we not doing that we're telling other people to do? What's something that you're not doing that you should be doing?
Accepting help.
Mine is resting without guilt for sure. I just
Yeah.
really don't know what rest looks like for me. And I really want to dig into, we've talked with a few of our guests about the 7 different types of rest and how different types of rest can be restorative for different people. And I have not figured out what is restorative for me yet.
I think what's interesting is something you said in our episode with Hitha when I asked the two of you what systems you have because you both have jobs there's no obvious connection between them. They use very different skill sets and parts of your brain. And you were like, I think everything is just going all the time.
Hmm.
I think that might be the defining experience of being a millennial woman is
Yeah.
everything is going at the same time. As much as it's great that we have like more flexibility and more fluidity and digital connection and all of those things, we are all thinking about work, parenting, daughtering,
Constantly.
friendship, fitness, health, marriage, community. We're thinking about all of those things all at once. And that, I mean, I feel like, especially in these last few weeks of having my kids home with me and trying to also work through that, I feel like my brain is melting right
Yeah.
now.
For me, what I picture is sort of like a conveyor belt that it's filled with things and I'm picking up what I can. And the times when I feel, I guess, less stressed, there's not as many things on the conveyor belt, but it's still going and I'm still trying to pick up as much as I can, but I'm never picking up all of the things.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but
And it
that's
never
how
stops moving.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
just going all the
It's
time and I
going
do what
all
I
the time.
can and it's too late. After it's gone through the conveyor belt, it's too late. I did what I could
Do you ever feel like a computer with too many windows open that is like
constantly.
overheating? Yeah.
Constantly, yes. And the noise, like the overstimulation is just like the fan cooling
That's another thing. It's how did we go to nightclubs and have like noise and flashing lights
and
and
like tight
sticky,
clothes
sweaty
and
people? How was that not overstimulating? But now, if my kids ask me a question at the same time, I'm like, I'm
yeah.
gonna explode.
Yeah, it's
How?
really I was talking to my husband about being overstimulated recently because we were talking about how I mean, he said something like it seems like everything in this house overstimulates me, but when I'm doing things on my phone or working or doing the other things that like scratch that creative itch is not overstimulating and I wonder why. I don't know. I feel like this might be my rest.
Yeah. Or just like it all catches up to you
Yeah.
at home, right? When you're like,
And I
now
can
I
let
have a
it
minute
go.
to breathe, and then it all just like
It's like
floods in.
kids who hold it in all day and then they come home and it's their safe space so they can just like melt down.
Yeah. I
But
am
also,
I've always been very easily overstimulated.
I was going to say, it's just so loud. Like everything is so loud.
It's so
Everyone is
loud.
so loud. Why is everything so loud all the time?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. Also, like, I have hardwood floors, which I love, but oh my God, the
Yeah.
sound of toys on hardwood floors.
I'm just like, yeah, being touched constantly. I just never realized that it would just be so overstimulating to just be touched all the time. Like, I love hugging my kids and I want to kiss and hug them all the time, but like, get the fuck off of me for like
I can handle being touched. What I can't handle is if while I'm being touched, they are moving. Like, if you're on my lap and you're
sit
sitting
still.
still, love it. If
Yeah.
you're on my lap and you are, like, wiggling around,
Yeah.
that is
I
hard
know.
for me.
I've like shoved my kids off of me before. It's not nice. It's like, really, I can't help it. I'm like, just please, I can't. Just move away. I might be just kind of an asshole. I think. I'm not sure. That's what I've uncovered from season 1. That's my takeaway. It's me. I'm the asshole.
Back to Taylor Swift, it's
Yeah.
me.
So yeah, I have loved every conversation we've had. No
Yeah,
matter who else is listening and what the feedback has been, it has felt like, and I've said this to so many people, it has felt like my personal therapy session.
yeah.
Even if it's just us two or whoever the guest is, it's been so great for me. So even if nobody listens to this or season 2 or season 10 or whatever we get to, I'm so happy we're having these conversations.
I am too. Can you imagine us doing this when we're like,
You never know. You never know.
you never know.
Will podcasts still exist? Probably not. They'll probably just be like fed directly into our data chip that we have
Yeah,
implanted.
yeah. We should go back and watch Smart House and
Oh
see
my
how
God.
much of it actually came
We
true.
were just talking about this in our house because I was telling the kids about it. And we're like, yeah, the cool thing that they did was pour water, like the fridge poured water, and like, oh, awesome, projected something onto the wall, which is
Yeah.
not exciting. We should do a time capsule. What if we did like a season 1 time capsule, and
We
then
do have that one episode that we recorded and never
yeah,
released.
I don't
We
know
should
if that
release
needs to
that
see
at
the
some
light of
point.
day, but maybe to our Substack subscribers if you really
Yeah.
want to hear. You know what I would love though? If you're listening to this episode and you've gotten this far, we should find a way to get your voice notes or your feedback on what you have adopted in your life or things that you know you should be doing that you aren't doing. When we release this, hopefully in the show notes, we'll have a number you can call to leave a voice note. And maybe we'll put it on season 1 of, or episode 1 of season 2.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, we wanna hear your millennial sandwich survival tips too.
Yeah. I want to hear yours, Zara. What's your millennial sandwich survival tip?
I would say have at least one thing every day that you do for yourself and protect it, but also if you can't do it, don't feel bad about that. Even if that thing is watch half an hour of TV and that's what really helps you relax and unwind at the end of the day, there will probably be a day that you can't get to that. And if you are anything like us, you will probably feel guilty
Yeah.
for not getting to that, but you have to remember that the point of it is to get you away from all those feelings. So if you can't get to it, don't
It's
beat
not
yourself.
homework. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not exactly. It's not homework. But for me, I've been trying to take a walk every evening when my husband is doing bedtime, and that feels like something I can do for myself. That's very easy to beat yourself up if you can't do, though, because
Right.
you're like, "Oh, I didn't hit my step count today."
Yeah. I didn't move
I
my
get
body and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you? What's your millennial sandwich survival tip?
Mine is, well, I always say to pay attention to things before there's a crisis. I know I always say that, but also knowing that you're not responsible to fix everything. That's the biggest thing. You can still be the person who is at the center of everyone in your life, and it's still not your job to fix everything. I think we all need to hear that more. You can't control everyone and everything. You can only control what you do and say. You can't fix everybody. So just reminding yourself that you can't fix everything and everyone.
Yeah, and everybody else's health or safety or success is not a reflection of how you're doing, too.
Yes. Yeah. Things happen to everyone and it's not something you did.
Yeah. Even your kids. I
Yep.
mean, yeah, if your kids aren't exactly what you wanted them to be, that's not a failure on your part. That's you letting them be who they are. It's actually a win.
Yeah. We hear that a lot, right? When moms are like, when their kids get hurt, like kids do, they're like, I feel so horrible.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
They're doing what they do. I mean, I said this today. I texted you a picture of my daughter's gash on her forehead, and I was like, oh, I feel really bad that this happened, but also I didn't do that. I told her not to do that. Actually, I told her not to jump off the couch, but you still feel bad. I don't know why we say that. Like, oh, I feel so horrible that I let this happen. I feel like I'm telling my friends all the time, that's not, you didn't do anything. They're just being a kid. You are not responsible for other people's decisions, including your kids, like you said.
Yeah. And as your parents age, there will probably be moments like that with your parents too,
Yes. You
where
cannot
maybe they'll get hurt or fall or,
make bad decisions that you don't agree with. They're allowed to. They're allowed to make bad decisions that you don't agree with. Yeah. So I'm really excited for what's to come in season 2, and we want to hear what you want to hear.
yeah, let us know. We already have a poll up. So if you have any other thoughts, let us know. But we have some good ideas. We have some really, really good guests lined up for next season, and we can't wait. We need a little bit of a break, but we can't
Yes.
wait.
Thanks for listening and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Millennial Sandwich. Don't forget to like, subscribe, give us a rating, and connect with us on social media.